So today we're doing filming locations for our second episode of Knight Rider. The first one I did was for Halloween, and this one is a Christmas episode.
Season's greetings!
I gotta be honest with you, this episode doesn't have that much to do with Christmas. It mentions it a couple of times, and it has a Christmas title, so it'll have to do.
If those jokers are starting to take some of the thrill out of Christmas from me.
So join me today as we check out filming locations for Season 2, Episode 12, Silent Night. Let's go see what we can find. So the episode begins with a bunch of shots of KITT driving on some windy roads through the mountains, for no reason at all, just to show us how cool Michael Knight is. Now those scenes were filmed in the Wrightwood area, which means that I just drove almost 2 hours in each direction just to match up a couple of shots that last a few seconds. I've got a problem. Now, although this episode starts way out in the middle of nowhere, and it is filmed in multiple locations, about 80% of this episode is filmed right here in the city of Covina. We then find ourselves at the grand opening of the Bank of R. Gilmer, which is really just an office building located at 100 South Citrus Avenue in Covina. And so they're having the big grand opening celebration. The bank manager is out here. He's really excited. He looks down the street and he sees the armored truck pulling up, and it pulls up right here in front of the bank. And on the corner, there's a Santa Claus, because don't forget, this is a Christmas episode. And so the armored truck stops here in front of the bank, and then a few moments later, the van full of clowns pulls up. I'm assuming the bank manager ordered clowns for the grand opening celebration. And once again, the manager is very excited. He runs over to the van, and the clowns jump out with guns. But that's not the worst of it. We then find out that Santa Claus is in on it. Santa Claus pulls out a gun as well. And so the clowns and Santa Claus take the bags of money from the armored truck, and they jump into the clown van, and they drive off down the street in this direction. Now, when the getaway van is driving off down the street, you can see that there's a newly planted tree, and right next to it is a hot dog cart. If you look right here, you can see where that tree used to be. You can see where the newer concrete has been laid down. So that hot dog cart was right here. And once again, the van was driving down the street right over here. And you can see that building on the corner. That is the same building. The one next to it, obviously, is a newer building. Now, I think it's kind of cool that in the episode, you've got a Santa Claus on the corner because it's Christmas time, and we're filming this during Christmas time. So there's also a Santa Claus right across the street on top of the roof of that building. And then across the street right over here, you've got a Santa Claus on the balcony. So kind of gives the same vibes.
I love Christmas. The lights,
Whole spirit of the season makes me feel great.
So this is where we get introduced to Tino the Gypsy boy. He's walking right here in between the cars, and behind him, across the street, you can see a bookshop called The Bookshop. If you look right over there, there it is, the bookshop, still there, same name, same address, 134 Citrus Avenue in Covina. And so he's walking right here and he tries to open the door of the car to steal the gift, and then he walks along this way and he checks all of the payphones for change in the coin return. All of those payphones no longer here, unfortunately. He then continues walking and you can see this alley across the street, and then as he's about to pass the driveway, there's a van making a left. And he runs to get out of the way, and then for some odd reason he gets really excited about that van and he runs off down the alley chasing it. Notice as the van pulls into a parking spot, you can see a bunch of people on the second story of this apartment building watching them film. Now talk about a lack of crowd control. When they're passing through the intersection of College Street and Citrus Avenue, right here on the corner, you can see about 200 people watching them. The bad guys continue down Citrus Avenue, and when they do, you can see an old school Taco Bell. I've got some good news and some bad news. Good news, the Taco Bell is still there. The bad news, yep, it looks like a dentist office. Now as KITT's flying through the air, you can see that Taco Bell that I just mentioned. Also notice this building, which is no longer here, but you wouldn't be able to tell anyways because there's now a tree blocking it. Here's the Taco Bell, which looks completely different. However, this utility pole can be seen in the shot. Once again, we're standing at 80s TV history, another location from one of the many KITT jumps, right here. Just imagine being here in the 1980s, watching KITT jump over that car. Does it get any cooler than that? So after Michael realizes that the bad guys are after Tino, he brings him to the police station to try and get some help.
Ha! Think there were any help?
And the police station he brings him to is the Covina police station. And you can actually see it on the wall a couple of times. I don't think you're supposed to be able to see that it's the Covina police station, but if you pay attention, you can see it. And as you can see here behind me, they are currently decorated for Christmas. They've got their Christmas skeleton up. So Michael takes Tino to be with his sister Marta at her flower shop. Now that was this building located on the corner of Grand Avenue and Wingate Street in Covina. It's currently Rose City Pizza, and it looks a little bit different. I mean, the building itself doesn't look too different, but they've added this wall and a patio which got rid of the steps that used to lead up to the front door. Now this large window that currently has Santa Claus eating a slice of pizza, this used to be the front door to the flower shop. And so Michael parks KITT right over here, and we see Michael and Tino walking into the flower shop where Marta is being harassed by her ex. He's asking her if he can borrow some money. And so Michael brings Tino inside and he's explaining to Marta what happened. And while that's going on, Tino gets upset and he runs away. So as the bad guys are pulling up, they see Marta's ex walking down the street, and they pull over to ask him if he knows where Tino is. Now here's the funny thing. He had just left the flower shop, and he's now walking down the street coming in this direction, but the flower shop is actually right over here. So he was walking back towards the flower shop. But so anyways, they see him walking down the street, and right when they pull over, he goes walking into a field, which is now a skate park. And they walk into the field and they're asking him if he knows where Tino is. And the thing about Casey is he'll tell you anything for a little bit of cash. And you know what's really cool is just about nothing has changed here except for the field now being a skate park. But you've got the utility pole that has the exact same slant, and it's got those cables coming off of it. And then you've got the signal for the railroad crossing. You've got the auto collision building that looks the same. You've got that wall that has the little dip in it. Just about everything here looks just like it did back in the 80s. So now we see Michael and Tino driving, and it looks like they're in the middle of nowhere, but they're actually still in Covina, just a couple miles away from where they just were, in a small neighborhood called Walnut Islands, and that's where I'm currently walking. And this is a small, quiet neighborhood that has a lot of horse property and stuff like that. And so all of those scenes with them driving and with Michael pulling over and letting Tino drive, that was all filmed right here in this neighborhood. So Michael takes Tino to the Gypsy camp, and I'm stressing out because how am I gonna figure out where this is? I mean, it's just an empty field. So I'm trying to find clues while he's talking to Uncle Stefano, and wait a minute, what is that up on the hill? That is the Psycho House. So that means this was all filmed at Universal Studios. You know, I've done 2 episodes of Knight Rider so far, and both have featured the Psycho House. Anyways, the bad guys find Tino, and I don't know how they would have ever found him. Oh yeah, because Uncle Stefano is a creep. Later in the episode, while the Gypsy camp is trying to leave town, Michael pulls in front of it and stops them to find out where Tino is. And while he's talking to Stefano, behind the ladies you can see the stairs that lead up to the Psycho house. And here's some footage that I took of those stairs about a year ago, and you can see they match up perfectly. So the bad guys and Tino stop at a little roadside farm, and this is in the San Fernando Valley in the Sepulveda Basin on Woodley Avenue near Burbank Boulevard. Now that farm is no longer here, but right about here is where it would have been. Now when Tino steals the car and goes speeding out of the dirt parking lot, we see him turn onto Woodley Avenue, and you can see a median in the middle of the street and then another field across the street. Now roughly right about here is where the car was parked. He then would have gone out this driveway, so he would have come onto Woodley Avenue, and you can see right there is the median, and then across the street is another field, and we're going to talk about that field in just a little bit. So after Tino steals the car from the bad guys, we see him driving down the street rocking out to Eye of the Tiger. He was driving right here on this road. This is back in the Walnut Islands neighborhood, and this is where we first see him and Michael driving past the very same fence. The car ends up running out of gas in a cornfield right across the street from where he originally took the car from. The bad guys spot him and they take off after him, and behind him you can see a building. That building is right over there on the other side of these trees, but you're just gonna have to take my word for it. Now when Michael and Tino's sister are driving around trying to find Tino, at one point he's driving down Woodley Avenue, driving right past Woodley Park. And as he's passing by Woodley Park, way off in the distance you can see a building. And that's this building right here. And this is the same building that you see behind Tino when he's running away from the bad guys. Now just as he's passing by Woodley Park, he spots Tino and the bad guys in a cornfield, and he hangs a quick right. And this is where we get jump number 2. He hangs that quick right and hits the turbo boost button and jumps right into the cornfield. It was this field right here behind me. This is now the, I don't know the exact name of it. It's an airfield where people fly model airplanes. And the way that I was able to figure this out is because of the buildings that you see right over here. They are the same buildings that you can see behind Tino when he's running from them. And most importantly, when KITT does that jump into the cornfield, you see these two buildings, and you can also see this part of the dam. And I've driven back and forth and all around in here, and if you go just a little bit this way or a little bit that way, the position of those buildings with that section of the dam, it keeps changing. So right here in this area is the only spot where those two buildings are in that position. And just to give you an idea, this is the field where KITT does the jump and Michael catches the bad guys. And then right over here across the street, this is where that little roadside farm was, where Tino steals the car earlier in the episode. For the end of our episode, we're back here at the flower shop / Rose City Pizza because Michael comes here to bring Tino his stuff because Tino is moving in with his sister Marta. And we see them all standing here in front of the flower shop talking, and then Tino walks over to KITT, which is once again parked right here on the side of the flower shop. And so he's leaning up against KITT talking to him when KITT wishes Tino a Merry Christmas.
Tino,
Yeah,
Merry Christmas.
you too.
And so Michael then says his goodbyes to everybody and gives Tino a very enthusiastic high five before walking over to KITT and jumping inside. And that's gonna do it for this episode. Hopefully you all enjoyed checking out the filming locations for this Christmas episode of Knight Rider. Like I said, it doesn't have that much to do with Christmas, but it'll do. Now I hope each and every one of you have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, or whatever other holiday you celebrate. I hope you just have a good time. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.